It's really important for children and also for parents and adults to remember the importance of God's love for them and what the word says to them and about them. So sometimes when you're in the midst of the world, you'll start to lose yourself. Who am I? And what is my worth? And what is my value? Kids deal with that just like we do as adults. And the more that we can say, hey, let me tell you exactly who you are. God says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Welcome to the Jesus Storybook Bible Podcast, a place where we remind you that grace can rewrite any story, that hope shines a light through our darkest moments, and that God's love changes lives. Here's your host, New York Times bestselling author, Sally Lloyd Jones.
Hello, I'm Sally Lloyd Jones, author of the Jesus Storybook Bible, which tells the story of God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. Welcome to the show. All of us long to know that we have value, don't we? That we have purpose, that our lives have meaning. Thomas Merton once said, "What am I? I am myself a word, spoken by God. Can God speak a word that does not have any meaning?" Today, we're talking about how we can know what we're made for and what we're meant to do on this earth that's meaningful. Our guest, author, vocalist, and life coach, Maurice F. Martin, was once on top of the world with a thriving professional speaking career, yet he still felt empty on the inside. To try and fill the void, Maurice turned to some darker voices in his mind that promised relief from his misery, but that ultimately led him in the wrong direction. It was in his most painful hours, though, that he heard the voice of God assuring him, helping him understand there was a purpose and a plan for his life if he'd simply trust in him. Now, Maurice helps people find the most authentic version of themselves and teaches them how to cling to the worth that God says they have and that can never, ever be taken away. I can't wait for you to hear about his inspiring journey. So, without further ado, please welcome my friend and now yours, Maurice F. Martin.
My name is Maurice F. Martin. I am an author, a transformational speaker, and a coach. I often say that I help people get to their most authentic version of themselves. I had national licensing deals with MTV and VH1. I realized that I was winning in my career, but I was losing at life. In other words, I was seeing myself have accomplishments and they sounded good on paper. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't like the person who was looking back at me. When I laid my head down on my pillow at night, I was less and less of the person that I wanted to be. And so really, eventually my music career started to fizzle. One of the big record deals that I was negotiating fell through. We all reach these moments in life when you're wondering, where do I go from here? What do I build from here? And who am I that's even building it? And so as I had a heart to heart, the truth is, the heart to heart was, Maurice, do you want to live? And the answer was no. I didn't want to do this anymore. And so soon after my music career was over, there was a day I got in the car. I was selling insurance at the time, and I just didn't want to do this anymore. And that day in the car, I heard the voice of God, that still small voice, speak to me and tell me that that was not the way to go. But really shifted the trajectory of my life and got me thinking more about not only how do I heal, but once I'm healed, how do I help other people who look like me and sound like me and feel like me? I had to start off by acknowledging that something was wrong, that there had actually been an emptiness in my life. Since I was a young kid, I was the product of what I would call somewhat of an abusive home. And so there was always a lack of belief, a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-worth on the inside of myself. And I think that at first I thought that the applause of the crowd, the awards, the accomplishments would fill me up. Well, what I found out is it didn't. It just exposed how deep and wide the valley inside of me was. So when I think about my life, I now think about it in terms of how does God see me and how can I become more of that? And ultimately, the more that I lean into cultivating getting to know myself and getting a chance to pour into myself and getting a chance to see myself more like God sees me, that fills the gap. Now I'm less empty. Now I'm less feeling fraudulent. Now I'm less feeling like I'm never going to have my life really have meaning and worth and value. Instead, I can see that in this moment, I'm everything that I'm supposed to be. It's all here right now, somewhere in there. And if I would just open my eyes, if I would just open my ears, if I would just open my heart to the possibilities, then I'm able to step fully into the fullness of who I can be just today. Oftentimes, we find ourselves trying to figure out what we're supposed to do in life. There's a lot of conversations, especially in our society, about what should I do? What would I put on the earth to do? The more important question is, what am I here to become? Like, who am I becoming? I think sometimes we struggle with finding peace. There's just something missing, something in the formula, some type of a missing ingredient. And I think that the more honest we can become with ourselves in that journey, the more that we can say, hey, you know what? I've done a lot, but I haven't always grown through what I've done. Sometimes I've actually become stuck or become emotionally stifled. I think that it's that realization and that admission and acceptance that ultimately gets us on the journey of really growing into our full potential. What I've learned is that what we practice, we perfect. And so what I often teach people and what I've learned in my own life is that if I'm practicing being fake, that over time, once I've accomplished the goal, what I feel is fake. Instead, I think that the key is to really foster your belief system. It's not fake it till you make it. It's believe it until you achieve it. Now, as I'm, hitting these little milestones and reaching my goals, I'm seeing that the fruit of my belief is real. The thing that I thought I could do, the thing that I thought I was, it's real, it's evident, it's right in front of me. So it strengthens my belief system. Ultimately, it strengthens my faith, and it gives me more faith and more belief for the next step in the next parts of my journey. If there is someone who is listening today and they're wondering, what do I have to do to go from where I am to the ultimate goals of where I'd like to get? I truly believe that the number one focus has to be creating a vision for your life. In other words, the more clearly you can see where you believe you're going, now you can be intentional in creating and carving that path. Practically speaking, the way that you get anywhere is by building habits. It's by learning tools. And the question is, what habits do you need and what tools need to be used? You learn the habits and tools based on where you're going. So create a life vision and then create daily, weekly, and monthly habits that you can foster that move you in the direction of your overall goal. I see God's love, and I would hope that the listeners see God's love in the midst of the journey. I think that for many of us, we think that God's love is waiting for us on the other side of accomplishments. Oh, I accomplished something great. See, God loves me. But no, God really shows you He loves you when you have the greatest doubts and the greatest worries, when you're in the in-between and you feel stuck and you feel stifled and you feel afraid. And what if I get it wrong? And what if I fail God? And what if? It's the what if moments when you quiet yourself, when you go into prayer, that God will provide you the greatest comfort. That before your situation started, before your anxiety, He knew who you were. He ordained this journey just for you. And even when you get it wrong, there's God's grace. God says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are above and not beneath, the head and not the tail. The more that you can see yourself through God's eyes, the more you will be empowered, the healthier you become, and ultimately that becomes fuel in the fire of the greatest parts of your journey, that when you're going after destiny, you remember, I'm going after this because it's bigger than me, that God put greatness on the inside of me, and everything that I do and everything that I touch when I'm in purpose, it all affects more than me in the most beautiful of ways. I often say I am the evidence of a praying grandmother. My children will be the evidence of praying moms and dads. And so for all of us, we don't even know how powerful the people who came before us were. I'll be reading from a story in the Jesus Storybook Bible called A New Beginning, where Noah trusts God despite the skepticism from others. A storm is coming, God told Noah. The storm was going to wash away all the hate and sadness and everything that had gone wrong and make the world clean again. God had thought up a way to keep Noah safe, but Noah would have to trust God and do exactly what God told him. So Noah built an ark, short for a very large boat. Noah's neighbors came out to watch and point and laugh because they didn't believe Noah about the boat or the storm or needing to be rescued. And it started raining for minutes that joined up into hours, that joined up into days, that joined up into weeks and weeks. Finally, the rain stopped. The sun came out and Noah threw open all the windows. Hooray! Everyone shouted. And there in the clouds, just where the storm meets the sun, was a beautiful bow made of light. It was a new beginning in God's world. This story resonates with me on so many levels. The first of which is that sometimes when God gives you a vision, He'll give you a message with the vision. Sometimes you'll know, hey, we can all grow, we can all get healthier, we can all move forward. And sometimes you'll say words to people who may actually poke fun at you. They may not understand the message you're bringing, but that's okay. Build what God tells you to build anyway. And just know that once you start building it and once you actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, storms may come afterwards. If you change something meaningful in your life, you may have to deal with a storm. But know that when the rain stops, there will be a reminder that God is present, that God is there for you, and that God will never leave you or forsake you.
You can get the Jesus Storybook Bible wherever books are sold. To find out more about the book and all of Sally's other books, please visit Sally at sallyloyd-jones.com and follow her on Instagram at Sally Lloyd Jones and at Jesus_Storybook_Bible.
Before we go, don't forget, God loves you with a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. Oh, hello, it's me again, Sally. I'm just popping back briefly to say two things. The first thing is, don't forget to subscribe to the show, because that way you'll get the stories straight to your phone. And the other thing is, while we're at it, would you rate the show and leave us a review? That would be so great, because it helps other people find the show too. I really appreciate your help. Thank you.